What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're back in the shop and we're gonna continue working on the go-kart. So this is my 1997 Jeep Wrangler TJ that I took the tub and that I basically took everything off of and made this little rock crawler tube buggy go-kart thing. Got the inspiration from Matt from BleepinJeep when they built the banana peel, and whenever we went up there for the Beast Wars, I really got to see firsthand how well that banana peel actually worked, which is basically just a stripped down TJ. So I may have took it a step further. So FedEx and Amazon showed up today, and guess what we're gonna be working on tonight? That's right, the seats. I haven't unboxed the seats yet, but we'll do that in a minute. So I went on Amazon and got a chase bar. This is just a Amazon special chase bar that I'm gonna be using turn signals, reverse lights, and brake lights. So I didn't really want to put any tail lights or anything on this. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use this as my turn signal, and the blue is gonna be my reverse lights, and then the reds are gonna be my brake lights. And yes, it does have a strobe feature, but you can bypass all of that. But you don't have to put it on strobe. So, but I think it's gonna look super sick in the back right there. Now, let's get to those seats. You may remember I actually had some Pro Armor seats for a Razor side-by-side in here. And if you're not familiar with this build, what I did was I basically got a Razor side-by-side seat bracket and I retrofitted it to go around the slip yoke eliminator right there on the back of the transfer case. And then I basically just built this entire cage around those two seats. Well, those seats were a little rougher than what I was wanting, and it was so rusted and damaged that it actually broke whenever I sat in it.
That's a huge...
It's kind of a wake-up call. Probably a sign I need to lay off the ice cream. So the seats that I had in here, they were actually rusted on the inside. It looked like somebody had just sank them at the bottom of a pond at Busco Beach, and they were just completely rusted, and I didn't realize that until I pulled the fabric back after it broke. But what happened was they just rusted and they broke, and I just don't feel comfortable fixing them or anything like that because they were both in pretty bad shape. So I kind of had to bite the bullet and buy some seats. I did not want to, but I couldn't have this whole build around seats that I was scared would break and potentially hurt somebody, because I don't know if you see, but if these seats break, you're going into the drive shaft and then you're gonna be like a mangled mess of spaghetti. So I did have to order some seats, and I did not want to, but hopefully they will bolt right in. They are for a Razor side-by-side, so hopefully I can just put the bases on and they'll bolt right in. But I think the first thing I'm going to work on is getting this light bar mounted, and I have an idea of what I want. So I want the light bar to go right underneath this bar right here. I want it to be very, very close where you can barely see how it's mounted up there. And it does come with some mounts over here, but I really don't want to use these. I really want it to be super tucked up and high where you can barely see how it's mounted. And I think I'm gonna rob some parts from Patrick's Comanche. So the kit that he got, it actually came with some extras. So you can see them right here. So I'm not just stealing them. I'm just borrowing his. But basically what these do is, you can see it has two holes right there. Basically what it does is it just mounts to the body right there. And then this brake line actually goes in between that. And then these pieces slide into it and it will actually hold this brake line. So if Patrick actually ever puts those on, it'll be a Christmas miracle. It'll be a situation where I have to put them on because he'll never do it. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and get some mounts tacked up and see what this thing looks like on the back there. I just gotta make sure that it's even and everything. Basically, I just got a center point of the tube and then a center point of the light bar. And then I welded these brackets for the brake lines right there. You can see I had to tap them over just a little bit. And I did pull some measurements and they are squared, and which is a miracle in itself that this cage is squared. But I think that's gonna be absolutely perfect. So I'm gonna let this cool down before I put the light bar up there. So I'm pretty excited about how that chase light is turning out. Key is over there starting to do all the wiring and stuff that I don't want to do. So I think I'm gonna start unboxing these seats and seeing if they actually fit. I got these on a Christmas special. I ordered these December 23rd and it is January 13th and I just got them today. So we're just gonna chalk it up to holidays. Do not use cutter. Okay. So it looks like it comes with the hardware right here. Place those on my gas tank table. Oh, don't look too bad. They do kind of look like Fast and the Furious though. They're like carbon fiber seats. These seats are about family. So it is actually the next night. We stayed out here super late trying to get these seats adjusted correctly. These seats are so universal, they're almost kind of aggravating to kind of fit everything, but I don't think they look terrible. The only issue that I'm gonna have is that center console. So these seats apparently are a lot bigger than the other seats that I had in here. I think I'm gonna have to cut up that center console. I really didn't want to do that. So now that I have the seats in that I'm gonna be running in this, I want to kind of finish up this cage and get it ready for paint. I didn't want to do anything with the paint until I got the crossbars in the rear completed, and I didn't want to get those done until I got the seats in that I'm going to be running. As you can see right here, I don't have many triangles in the rear, and we're about to change that. So I'm probably going to be putting in a X or something behind the seats just to give this cage a little bit more structure. So if I have an impact from this way, the cage doesn't just roll over. There's going to be something pushing it from this end over here. So what I'm talking about doing is I'm going to be introducing some triangles to the rear of this cage. So heaven forbid there's a high-speed rollover in this thing and it comes crashing down on this side and then this side. There's nothing really stopping this cage from coming in on the occupants of the go-kart. So I want to start introducing some triangles and some X's back here to strengthen this cage up. So this should be the last bit of tubing that I put on this cage. I really don't want to be adding a ton of weight to this cage, but honestly, there's really not a whole lot of weight in the back right here. And I don't think 4 bars about this long is gonna add too much weight. But like I said in the beginning of this series, I want to make this cage strong by design, not by mass. So that's why I'm just trying to be kind of cautious of where I'm putting these tubes and the crosses and the triangles. So this is what I kind of just threw together. This is kind of a down and dirty, just some triangles in the rear here. And I don't think it's going to be too terrible. I do have a little bit of a gap. I got to do some clearancing and I got to move this over to get them center. But for the most part, I think this will be just fine. So I'm gonna get those sanded down and tacked in, and then we're going to work on getting some bottom bars in. Done, and I'm pretty tickled with it. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's in and it's strong, and that's all that matters. So as you can probably tell, I went with the Gorilla Weld method, which is really strong and ugly. I just fabbed it up to mount to the frame right here, so it would have to push on this tube and it has to push on the frame, and we both know that it's not going to go anywhere right here. And then I did the same thing over here. And what's really neat is it's kind of got like a spider web effect. So like these go out and these also go out. So it kind of gives like the cage like a cool dimension. So I think I figured out a solution to cover up those ugly second pass welds. A license plate. So what I'm gonna work on now is, obviously I've got the seats back in. I want to get that center console clearanced because these seats apparently are bigger than the other ones. And I don't have any room to put my console in now, so I'm gonna have to cut the console about right here in order to get it to fit. So let's go ahead and get that cut. I'm like super stoked about how this thing is coming together. What do y'all think? So now that I have the console in and everything's good there, I want to figure out storage. So like I said earlier, I need something to put like straps and tools, and really the only spot I have is behind the seat. So I think I'm gonna try to figure out some kind of storage for this thing, maybe like a little rack or something like that. So this is kind of what I have come up with. I went and got this tool carrier from Harbor Freight, and I believe it's gonna fit nicely right behind the seats. So what's really important is that I'm able to get the seats out without taking this out. So I need something further closer towards the fuel cell here. And with this new crossbar, with these new crossbars in the rear, it kind of limits my space. The way that this is set up right here, I believe that I'm gonna have just enough room to run this tool carrier. Look, there's Cinnamon Roll. Hey girl. There's Easton. There's a lot of creatures in my shop out here. So my plan is to use the same material that I used, that little 1/2-inch tubing right there. I'm gonna run a piece of tubing from right here underneath this tool carrier, and then that's what's going to secure the tool carrier and not just these zip ties. So now I'm going to get my tape measure and measure across and probably cut a piece of tube, and then probably get Easton to weld it on. You don't want to weld? Okay. I took some of that square tubing, and I really like it. If you haven't seen how I built the floor, it's pretty much what I built this entire floor and firewall out of. But it's super lightweight and it's super strong and it's really easy to weld to, and it just works really good. So I think I'm going to tack weld. I'm gonna get this squared up and tack weld a piece right here, and then put one behind it, and then I can, you know, put one or two across ways. That way, you know, that's what's gonna hold this container on. Maybe put some type of U-bolt or clamp or something, or just put a self-tapper into it. I'm not above that. Oops. I'm gonna see if I can get the seat out without coming in contact with this right here. You can see this bar right here, that's where I want it. And now I want to put one behind this one. And I kind of just want this wedged in there. Like I want it to be touching these crossbars, and I also want it to be touching, obviously touching the bars on the bottom. And I'm going to be mounting it to these bars, and I may come off of this fuel cell mount and let it rest on that as well. So that way it's just kind of, that way if I load this up with, like if I got to haul like logging chain for whatever reason, I can just throw it right there and not have to worry about this breaking or anything. And I'll probably put some little support pieces in there. That way there's a little bit more integrity in these bars that are running across. So I ended up just putting some bolts into it, and that is a super tight squeeze. I mean, the whole Jeep is moving whenever you shake this plastic container. So I truly believe that's not going anywhere. That is really cool looking. And it still gives it like the Go-Kart-ish vibes in the back. So I don't think that's ugly at all. And I may end up putting something right here that mounts to this just to kind of help it carry some weight. But I really feel like that is not going anywhere. So I'm going to throw the seats back in and see how everything looks. And hopefully the seats will go back in with this giant toolbox back here. Man, that looks really cool. That is going to be absolutely perfect. It's like it was made for back there. And it doesn't like show, like it doesn't take away from the build. It doesn't really add anything to it. It just kind of works. So I can easily get the seats in and out. So I have just enough distance to get the seat to come back and up. So I have just enough distance to get the seat to go back and then up and then out. And that is exactly what I wanted. So now I can put tool bags and stuff right there. So now this thing is ready for paint. Holy crap, I cannot believe I'm already to this point. So I have a super interesting color in mind, and I really think y'all are gonna dig it. So whenever I'm looking for paints, really the first place I look for is Seymour Paints. If you watched my channel in the past, you've seen I love using the Seymour Paints, especially the big rig. It dries literally in like 5 minutes if the temperatures are right. This stuff is awesome. So this thing is getting Seymour Paints all over it, but I believe I'm gonna be painting the hood and I'm gonna be painting the panels the sick Detroit diesel green. I feel like that is gonna be awesome. And then the tubes, I'm gonna be painting those like a silver cast blast color. and then the frame is going to be black. So definitely stay tuned for that. I appreciate y'all watching, guys. If you don't mind, hit that like button and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any further content on this build. I'm really looking forward to taking this thing against Matt with BleepinJeep against the banana peel later this year. So definitely stay tuned for that. But anyway, guys, thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all next time. Million different nuts and bolts on. There's a Phillips, a 10mm, a Torx bit.
So tonight in the shop, we're going budget boost racing. We're going to show you how to climb a rock on a budget.
Oh my